This is a short documentary video about this photograph of a view of vintage downtown Bryn Athyn as taken allegedly from Ruin Hill. Ruin Hill is the hill upon which Cairncrest now stands. Ruin Hill is called Ruin Hill because apparently there were ruins on it, ruins of an old farmhouse. If we zoom in, we can see the Academy of the New Church at the extreme left. Just to the right, we see the old Smith House. That's at 2771 South Avenue. And just above it, we can see the roof and chimney of the New Church Live building, the former home of Ray and Sylvia Cooper. Off to the right, we can see the old giant sycamore tree that stood and still stands over the spring house. And just to the right of that is the old water tower and the Lesher farmhouse. And just to the right of that, you can see the old Cooper house where Russ and Nora Cooper live today. Just above the Lesher farmhouse, you can see the roof of the inn located where Tom and Nina Klein's house is today. And further to the right, you can see the home of N.D. Pendleton that now belongs to Chris and Jane Carter. And across the road is Stancott, the home built for John Faulkner Potts and now occupied by Brian and Sandra Odner. The next home we see in the foreground belonged to Bishop Alfred Acton. Now, moving across Central Avenue, now known as Alnwick Road, we can see the home of Dr. Felix Barricky, now owned by Kurt and Jen Osplund, and behind that, you can see the home of Charlie Deering, now owned by the Bochnicks. And coming back across Central Avenue, we can see the home that was once occupied by Colonel John Wells and his family, and is now the site of Bob and Marilyn Osplund's house. Now, back across Central Avenue one more time, we can see Pendle House, the home of William Frederick Pendleton, and behind that, we can see the home that was once occupied by the McQueen family but now belongs to Shannon Good. If you look carefully across South Avenue, you'll see some other houses. We will come back to those later. But for right now, if we pass the Eccles house, the Bochnick house on South Avenue, we can see what might be the Price house. The Price house was once occupied by the Welch family. I'm not sure about this, but I think I can see it in the center of the frame, obscured by some trees. Before we try to identify anything else in this photograph, let's take another look at it and try to figure out where it was taken from. You can see the meandering stream coming out of the spring house, and that will help support the concept that this was taken from the location that is now Cairncrest. In order to try to figure out exactly where the picture was taken from, let's zoom in on this object in between DeCharms Hall and Benaid Hall. What else could that be than the smokestack at the old power plant next to the firehouse? Here's a screen capture of Google Earth where I drew a line from the smokestack through the two buildings, DeCharms Hall and Benaid Hall. Now let's see where that line goes. Well, it goes to the swimming pool area at Cairncrest. Let's try drawing another line, this time from the chimney on the New Church Live building, just past the Smith house. There's the line I drew. And here is where it goes, to the exact same spot. Now, let's move to the right, and we'll go to the home of Dr. Felix Barricky, or Kurt and Jen Osplund. And you can see how the right chimney lines up with the edge of the Bochnick's house. Here's the line that I drew, and you'll never guess where it ends up. Let's draw one more line. If we look at Pendle House and the McQueen house in the background, and you draw a line from the chimney at the McQueen house just over the edge of the Pendle House, we'll see where that line ends up. It ends up at the swimming pool at Cairncrest. All four lines lead to the same spot. Now, let's use that information to help identify a couple of obscure structures in this photograph. What is that white roof just to the right of the Smith house? Well, if we draw a line from the swimming pool just to the right of the Smith house, we'll find out that that was a barn at the property that also contains the New Church Live building today. If you look in between the sycamore tree and the water tower, I think you can see the home of Louis Pendleton. Now let's travel back down to Pendle House and then move back up South Avenue to try to identify those houses off in the distance across South Avenue. If you look carefully, you can see one house. Not sure what that is. Then there's clearly another house right there. And finally, a third house peeking out from behind the Bochnick residence at 2700 South Avenue. My best guess is that the house peeking out is where Pete and Roseanne Bostock live. And then you see Scott and Rebecca Maddox's house. And finally, the house at 2685 South Avenue where Jeffrey Cooper's family once lived. Finally, a word about when this photograph was taken. If you look just to the left of the Smith house, you will see that the Gyllenhaal residence is not there. That house was built in 1916 and 1917, so this photograph has to have been taken prior to 1916. I hope that you have enjoyed this video.